Hello, this is D, and I'm back with another video. Now, today we got some Xbox news to go through. We have the first week sales of Final Fantasy 16 on Xbox. As well, we got some details on the next Xbox console, and we have two media personalities, or I should say gaming media personalities, that have different opinions on what the next Xbox will be. And of course, I'm going to weigh in with the information that I know and my own opinions on what I think the next Xbox console will be. Now, first, let's just get into the Final Fantasy 16 news. Now, for the longest time, Xbox gamers have wanted Final Fantasy 16 on the Xbox platform. Now, it's been rumored, I would say, maybe for the last 2 months, and I think Jez is the one that broke this. You guys can let me know in the comment section down below if I'm wrong on that, but I do believe that he did say that this was coming to the Xbox, and some people just didn't believe him because, to be honest with you, his track record recently has kind of been a little bit spotty. Now, I'm not going to take any digs at Jez because he is actually a gaming reporter. He goes and gets the details. Unfortunately, like all of us in this industry, we get some things wrong. And I think it's unfair to go against some of these content creators when they get things wrong, because sometimes things change. Sometimes you just get bad information. It happens. Nonetheless, he did say that this was coming to the Xbox, and we got a stealth drop on the console. Now, you would think Xbox gamers for the longest time wanting this game on their platform, being upset that Sony paid for it to be exclusive on the PlayStation platform, that when it finally arrived on the Xbox, that they would buy the console. And that is, or I should say the game, and that is not the case. It sold 22,000 copies in its first week on Xbox. And that is just abysmal. Now, I gotta be honest with you guys. A lot of the sales, the game sales that are on Xbox, are always very low. And that's kind of because of the Game Pass effect. Now, I'm not gonna take any digs at Game Pass because I use the service, I love it, I think it's the best value in gaming. But the truth must be said that it does cannibalize their game sales on their platform. Microsoft has admitted this much in their own documents submitted to court. So I don't see how some people out there are disputing it when the company itself says it cannibalizes their game sales. And this is another, I would say, example of that, because I believe a lot of people are just waiting for it to go into Game Pass, or anticipated it to go into Game Pass, or they're just conditioned not to buy games because of Game Pass. They just expect it to reach the service at some point in time, and they're just content on waiting. And this is really hurting game sales on the Xbox platform. It hurts the sales of their own first-party games on their platform. Everybody just gets the game in Game Pass. Now, we're also hearing some reports that Game Pass is set to go up in price. And I would expect this to be the case because they just can't sustain this. They need to make the money off of all the studios that they invested in. Some of these games are millions and millions of dollars to create. And if they're not moving games on their own platform, and if the Game Pass service is not growing to the level that they need it to be at, they're going to have to raise the prices. Now, we got a report last week that Game Pass is at about 35 million subscribers, which is not a bad number, but it's nowhere near what Microsoft needs it to be at. Now, the last time I remember looking at the numbers, I think it was at 32 to 33 million Game Pass subscribers, somewhere around there. So it looks like they gained maybe 2 to 3 million. Now, you would expect with all the blockbuster titles that they received this year, that service would be much higher, and it didn't really move the needle too much. Now, we also know that most of the Game Pass subscribers are being found on PC. Now, I want you to remember this. Most of their Game Pass growth is on PC. And this is gonna kind of fit into the theme of the video where I think Microsoft is taking the Xbox platform. So I just want you guys to take a note of that. Now, on the matter of Final Fantasy 16 just selling 22,000 copies on the Xbox platform, that is just horrible. It's so bad, their game sales on the Xbox platform, that Microsoft is releasing their games on the PlayStation platform. Now, of course, PlayStation doesn't have the Game Pass service. They don't have Xbox games until Microsoft started to release them on their platform. And guess what? Every time Microsoft releases a game on the PlayStation platform, it sells in high numbers. Xbox is also raising the prices on their first party games. The Outer Worlds 2 is going to be an $80 game. And that is because they're not making enough money in Game Pass. They don't have enough subscribers. The Xbox gamers, they're not purchasing the games on the platform. So something has to change because Microsoft is a multi-million dollar, a billion-dollar company. They need to recoup on their investments. So I don't know, man. This is why the Xbox platform is in the situation that it's in. I don't think it's a problem with Game Pass per se. I think it's a problem with the platform. Gamers overwhelmingly choose the PlayStation platform. So it kind of is what it is on this situation. And Microsoft has rectified it by putting their games everywhere. Their games are on the PlayStation. And soon you're going to hear a lot of announcements of their games making their way to the Switch too. We know that Gears of War Reloaded is going to be launching day and date on the PlayStation alongside the Xbox and of course the PC versions. So the console war, it's over. I know some of you guys get upset with me in the comment section, but some of the guys don't realize that the war is over. Like my debate with the Rog Ally. A lot of people were up in arms when I said that the Rog Ally X and the Rog Xbox Ally, whatever they're calling them, are not Xbox devices. They're not an Xbox console, I should say. They do play Xbox games. They do have a unique skin that gives an Xbox UI and a kind of console-like experience to it. But at its core, it is a Windows handheld device. You can still go into Windows, and that is why you're able to play your Steam games, your Epic games, all the other storefront games, because it is a handheld PC. Now, I'm very happy to see this Xbox UI skin on these handhelds because the experience on a Windows handheld, it's just not the greatest feeling. You just want to get in and play your games and not have to be bogged down by a lot of the things that are in the system on Windows handheld devices. So this is a huge improvement, and I think it's going to improve the entire ecosystem of handheld devices. But at the same time, this is not an Xbox, and I'm not going to get into it anymore. Just because it has an Xbox button doesn't mean that it's an Xbox. It doesn't play your digital titles. It doesn't play one Xbox game natively. It's only going to play the PC versions of Xbox games that are available on Game Pass. There would be a host of licensing issues to get the Xbox 360s, to get the Xbox Series X, to get some of the versions of these games to run on this system. It would just not run natively. They'd have to run the PC version. Now, do I think this device is good? Yes, I think it's a good device. I just don't think that it's an Xbox device. So let's just leave that where it's at. We'll see when this hardware comes out, and we'll, probably get it on the channel and we'll compare it to the old Rog Ally. But I'm telling you right now, the old Rog Ally is going to be able to do the same things as the new Xbox Ally. There's nothing different except that it has a new UI, which the old Rog Ally will get. It has better performance because it has newer hardware, and it has impulse triggers. I think it's going to feel a lot better in your hands. The ergonomics of it are just better. So yes, it's an improvement, but it's really not doing anything different than the original Rog Ally. And that will also get the same UI update. In fact, all of the handhelds will be running the same UI update. I know people out there, once it becomes available, they're going to port it over to the Steam Deck. So let's just keep it real here. Now, the reason why I think Xbox went this way, opposed to their own handheld that plays native games, is because Xbox gamers, they just don't buy games because of Game Pass. It's just the facts. And I think they just didn't feel it was worth the investment. So they slapped this UI skin over the Rog Ally and hope to solve most of the problems. Now, I will say it is solving a lot of the handheld issues that we have with Windows devices. I think it's going to be a lot more streamlined, and I think it's going to be a lot more appealing to gamers. So this is a good thing. We also know that this is going to flow over to the desktop PCs. So I think with that being said, we should just move on to the next story. Now, Jez and Tom Warren, they have two opinions, and I guess gamers are kind of pitting them against each other because they have two different viewpoints on the next generation Xbox console. Now, this post is from Xbox News for Koreans, and it says Tom Warren versus Jez Gordon about the next Xbox. Tom, I think we'll be able to play Steam and PC games on the next Xbox. Jez, the Xbox Series X successor console is closer to a traditional console and doesn't appear to be designed to play PC games. Now you can see the quote here from Tom Warren. I think the next Xbox console is going to operate a lot like the Rog Ally, so you'll be able to get access to your Steam games. And Jez says it's going to be a traditional console. Now I got to be honest with you guys. The next Xbox, it is going to be, I'm pretty sure, a PC. Skinned with a similar UI interface, if not the same UI interface, so that it's the same across all devices as the Rog Ally. I think you're going to be able to boot in there and play your Game Pass games. I think you'll be able to play Steam games, the Epic Store games, all the other storefronts that are available on PC, because it's going to be a PC. It's not going to be a console, or at least a traditional console. It's going to have the same form factor as a console. So it's not going to look like a desktop PC where you got the glass in front of it and you can see your GPU and your CPU and all the RGB inside of it. It'll be in a traditional form factor of a console. But it's going to be running this new Xbox UI. That means essentially your backwards compatible games are not going to play on that PC/console hardware. Some people are saying, well, you're going to be able to play PlayStation games on there. That's a win for Xbox. It's a PC. You can already play PlayStation games on your PC right now. So this is nothing new. On my PC, I play my Xbox games, I play my PlayStation games, I play my Ubisoft games, my EA games, etc. I have a host of games that I can play on PC. I can also use emulators, which we're not going to get into on this video, but you can also play games in other ways that maybe you can't play on PC. Now that brings me to your backwards compatible games. Will Microsoft run some type of emulator within it? I don't think officially you're going to get some type of emulator for your backwards compatible games because of the licensing issues, and I just don't think that's something they're going to do. I think they're going to enable it via the cloud. So you'll be able to play your backwards compatible titles via the cloud. Now I'm going to assume that when the next Xbox comes out, that their cloud capabilities are much better, because currently they're not the best cloud gaming provider. I would say it's Nvidia, I would say it's Amazon, then I would say it's Sony, then I would say it's Microsoft in last place. I think they're doing up to 1080p now. I think some of the games are at 720p on the streaming, but if you've played it, it's not the best streaming service. It has hitches at times. The latency isn't great. The image quality is definitely the worst out of all of the cloud gaming providers. That can't even be debated. Maybe we'll do another video where we compare them, but you're just gonna have to take my word on it. If not, you can go scour the internet and I'm sure you'll be able to find the answers. My point is that you won't be able to play native games on the next Xbox console. They're gonna do it via the cloud, just like what they're doing on the ROG Ally X. It cannot play one native Xbox game. You have to play it via Game Pass, via their cloud gaming service. So that's my thoughts on that. I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen with the next Xbox console. We've been hearing reports for the longest time that third parties are going to be making these next generation Xboxes. It would make sense for Microsoft to kind of get out of the hardware business, but still try to say that they're in the hardware business, because they're definitely not selling enough consoles this generation. They're being outsold by Sony by like 4-1 in some regions. It's pretty bad. In other regions, I've even seen 5-1. Now, I want to say it's probably more around 4-1, 3-1, but nonetheless, they're being outsold. They're even being outsold by Nintendo. Nintendo just released the Switch 2. That console is selling like hotcakes. I believe the first week it sold 3.5 million. I believe last year Xbox, they couldn't even move 1 million consoles throughout the entire year. So it's pretty bad for their hardware sales. Now, this would be appealing to some console gamers, at least they think that's going to be the case. And I got to be honest with you guys, if the next generation Xbox is a hybrid PC, why would you not just buy a normal regular desktop PC that you can play all the same games on and you can upgrade to your likings? I just don't think that console will sell. Now, Sony released a statement with their earning reports and their strategic, or I should say, their strategies for the future of PlayStation. And they said the next PlayStation, the PlayStation 6, it will not be focused on the cloud. It will be focused on power. I think that's very telling because they know that the next Xbox, or perhaps I'm thinking that they know that the next Xbox console will be like a PC hybrid and that you can't play your games natively, your Xbox titles, your titles that you've invested in for all of the years on the Xbox platform. You'll have to play them on the cloud on the next Xbox. And I think that's going to leave a sour taste in some gamers' mouth. And I think they're going to forego the Xbox for that reason. I think they'd rather just get a PC or a PlayStation 6. Now, the PlayStation 6, when they're saying that they're going to rely on power, means that it's going to be a very powerful system. Now, we already know that Sony has partnered up with AMD. So the partnership is going to yield rewards in the next generation PlayStation 6. It's yielding some rewards right now with FSR 4. FSR 4 is a huge success, and that was a collaboration with AMD and Sony. And the benefits of FSR 4 are coming right back into the PlayStation 5 Pro console with a update. I believe it's at the end of the year or early next year. I might be wrong on the date of it, but I do know that the improvements that AMD achieved with the information and all the data that Sony gave them will be coming back as an update into the PlayStation 5 Pro, and PSSR is going to get a huge update in performance. Now, Jez Gordon thinks that the next generation console is going to be a traditional console that's going to play backwards compatible titles. And I just got to say, with all the information that's out there right now, with all the leaks and rumors of third parties building next generation Xboxes, I just can't believe his statement. Now, I'm not saying that he's trying to be disingenuous. I'm just saying I just don't agree with the statement. I think it's wrong. I think that the next generation Xbox is going to be very similar to what we're getting with the Rog Ally now. It'll be a PC that is skinned with an Xbox UI, and that would allow you to play the rest of your PC catalog games. Now, this is why I think it's not a good idea for Microsoft to do this financially, is because in the PC ecosystem, although the Game Pass service is great and it is growing in the PC ecosystem, most people prefer to play their games on Steam or other storefronts. And this handheld being enabled to play Steam games, I think is going to hurt Microsoft, because I think a lot of people are not going to buy the Microsoft Store versions of the games. Now, there's been many examples, and I can cite a few, like Flight Simulator. Flight Simulator was running better on Steam than it was running on the Microsoft Store version. Now, they did update it and it got better and it caught up, but the Steam version out the gate was running well. And this is the case with most of the games that are on both platforms. The Steam version tends to run better than Microsoft's own store version of the game. So with PC gamers preferring the Steam platform, and the next Xbox being some type of PC hybrid that allows you to play these Steam games, I just don't think that's beneficial to Microsoft. I don't know if this console, if they'll enable Steam on it, because I just don't think it's beneficial to their storefront. So perhaps it's still a PC hybrid and they disable you from playing Steam on it. I'm not quite sure, because everything, like I said, is pointing to this being a PC hybrid and that you'll be able to play your Steam games. But I'm saying, from my point of view and from a business point of view, and the trends of gamers not purchasing Microsoft games on PC, this would benefit Steam. Yes, of course, they're still going to get money from this game being sold in the Steam store, but their cut's going to be less. Where in the Microsoft Windows Store, it's 100% profit for them. They don't have to pay anybody because they own that storefront. So I don't know. This is a conversation perhaps for another day. I will say this. I just don't think the next Xbox console is going to be a traditional console. That's not what I've heard. I heard that the cloud is going to play a heavy role in that console. And I think Sony knows this as well. That's why they pointed out that the PlayStation 6 is not going to rely on cloud power, but real hardware power of the system. Now, where does this leave Xbox? I think Xbox as a brand, they're going to be okay because they put their games on everything. So they're going to make money from their gaming division. But the identity that Xbox is a console, that is dead. I think that is over with. I think Microsoft is really transitioning Xbox gamers over to PC gamers. They're putting it pretty clear to you when they say that this is an Xbox. So they're saying no hardware defines an Xbox. It's where you play the games. And we know that that's nonsense. Hardware does define the ecosystem for sure. A PlayStation, you know what the hell a PlayStation is. What is an Xbox now? They're saying it's a Fire TV stick. They're saying it's your LG, your Samsung television. They're saying it's your smartphone. They're saying it's your laptop. They're saying it's your um, tablet that can stream Xbox games to it. And it's just, I don't know, it's just very convoluted. I get annoyed with the marketing. I understand why they're doing it because the Xbox brand itself, the console itself, it's like it's not where it needs to be, and they need to do something. They need to make money. So I don't want to say it's not a smart strategy and that it's not gonna earn more revenue. It is, because look how the games are selling over on the PlayStation. I think I just get annoyed with some of the fanboys that just can't concede that it's over. Xbox as a console is dead. It's just their studios and their games that are going to live on because they're going to be on every platform. I think the Game Pass service is fantastic. It's growing the most on PC. I think it's going to continue to flourish on PC. I don't know at what rate it's going to grow at, but I think it's still going to continue to grow on PC. I think that the handheld device is fantastic, but it's not an Xbox. I don't think it's going to move the needle for them. I think a lot of people that get that handheld device, they're actually going to buy a lot of Steam games on it. I can guarantee they're going to buy more Steam games on it than they are going to buy Xbox games on it. Now, if you're a gamer that has, the Game Pass service, then this is probably a pretty good add-on. Now, in all honesty, I'm kind of fatigued talking about all of this stuff. I think it's about time that Microsoft kind of lifts the veil and reveals their plans for their next generation console. I truly believe that at the end of the year, perhaps at the Games Awards show, that we're going to probably get a hint of what is happening with their next generation Xbox, because they've been talking about it for 2 years now. So it's not like they haven't talked about it. So I think it's time to actually start to show us a little bit of what this next generation Xbox will be. Now, I think the reports are right. It's going to be a PC hybrid. I think you might have the ability to play your Steam games on it, but at that point, it's no longer an Xbox. It is a PC, because if it's playing PC versions of games, it is not a console. Anyways, you guys let me know what you think. Are you team Jez or are you team Tom Warren? Let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think the next Xbox will be. If it is a PC hybrid that plays Steam games, are you going to buy this console, or would you rather just buy the PlayStation 6 or outright just buy a regular desktop PC? Let me know in the comment section down below, and like I usually say, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one.